What is up, guys? My name is Death Hunter, and you are watching Death Hunter Quality Everything. Today, I actually went to go see the movie Geostorm. And by the way, this will be a movie review. I'll probably have that in the title. So yeah. But anyway, this is a movie review of the movie Geostorm. And first, a lot of people have, at least I've seen, given it really, really harsh reviews, in my opinion. I didn't think it was terrible. I didn't think it was good, necessarily, but I didn't think it was absolutely awful, as it seems that Rotten Tomatoes and quite a few YouTubers have said it is. Maybe that's just because I haven't seen enough movies, because I'm only 16. So, but anyway. Let's just get into it. This will be a spoilers thing because it's not really good enough to have a separate spoiler section, so just be forewarned about that. Yeah. So, the movie is basically centered around okay, so it's 2019, and people have not listened to anything climate scientists have said, and the world basically goes to crap. There are massive storms everywhere. The East River swallows up Manhattan, and the world's weather just goes haywire. And that's all because of climate change. And no one is doing anything about it until the stuff happens, which is not a good thing. Please do something about climate change before this stuff happens. But anyway, okay, so the world gets together, 17 countries, I'm pretty sure, 17 countries. Would you stop being weird, cat? Seriously, knock it off. Anyway, so 17 countries get together and make this world web of satellites. And what this web does is it uses the three main elements: water, heat, and pressure. I think it was water, heat, and pressure. And they mediate whenever a storm is nearby, and they mitigate the storm. They just take it out of existence. That's it. That's all that's all it literally does. Is just dissipates the storm, which is a cool idea in theory. But the way they do it is a little cookie cutter and a little boring. Like, they have a bunch of little tiny robots, or a massive laser, or something like that either heats up the ground to stop something, or cools the ground to stop something, or these little robots come in and, I'm assuming, suck up all the moisture. Or at least make it evaporate, so because they shoot a bunch of robots down into a hurricane and it just dissipates. Which is kind of strange, and I'm sure this is it is in the trailer as well. So if you want to see that, maybe somewhere around here, let's make it there. That I'll put in like a link to the first trailer I can find. But anyway, okay, 1 second. Jax! Get off from there, you stupid cat. Cats are weird. Anyway. So, where was I? Yeah, it's a little cookie cutter. It is a bit boring. I guess they thought, actually, you know what? No, you stay up here. In fact, here. You're gonna be part of the video from now on. Oh, Jax, please don't hurt me. Okay, can you look at the camera? Look at the camera. Jax, look at the camera. Jax, up. Yes, that's a good boy. Oh, he's so cute. Okay, now, like I said, it's a little cookie cutter in the way they do it. They basically just shoot a laser or shoot robots or whatever into the storm to get it to stop. And there's a lot of sciencey stuff that I'm not going to get into and how that kind of stuff would work. But 3 years goes by. Well, the guy who came up with the idea and oversaw the construction of this thing, he goes into court and gets fired by his younger brother, Max. And this thing is what these two characters are based around. So this guy, the movie goes from 2019 to 2022, so it skips 3 years, and by that point, the web that's designed to prevent storms is supposed to be given out to the international community. And the United States does not want that to happen. For numerous reasons I'll get onto later. And I'll let you know when spoilers are coming up. So, this guy who oversaw the thing gets fired by his brother. And his brother is the assistant secretary, I think. Something like that. And it's just really dumb in the way they do it, because it's like, why? Because the dialogue is so boring. It's so boring, and it's so stupid at times. Again, because there's another spoiler later on that I'll tell you beforehand, but whatever. Anyway, so it flashes forward 3 years, and a massive storm hits. Oh, what was it? It was spoiler. A massive storm hits somewhere. Crud. Darn. I'd have to take a look, but I'd have to try to remember. But anyway, it hits a certain city, and it's a small village in Afghanistan, and it basically, one of the satellites acts up and freezes a city in Afghanistan, and the ice is supposed to help with droughts, so it can cool down the weather, so it can get fresh rain. I don't even know, but it acts up and freezes an entire town in Afghanistan, and everyone is frozen solid. And in fact, in the trailer, it actually shows one person from the United Nations touch a hand of a guy who's frozen and it just falls off. Which is, it makes sense, I guess, because that's kind of what it does, but one, ice isn't that brittle, especially if it's as thick as a human arm, because, I mean, come on, that's a lot of ice. You're going to need to smash it with a hammer or something, but anyway, I digress. So, and this kind of sparks an international cry out, because it's like, this web is supposed to help us. What the heck is happening? Is this a malfunction? And, well, obviously everyone thinks it's a malfunction at first. So, they go by, and then this one guy comes to... Max goes to his brother's house in Atlanta, and he asks him to go back up to the space station so he can help everyone, or help the space station recover and fix the problem. So, after that, he goes up, and he meets a lot of people he doesn't know, and they go up, and they find all these problems, and it just happens to be, like, a spoiler, it's a virus, a virus that's infected the web and is turning the protected... Would you stop? Stop it! Get out. Anyway. Yeah. Oh, twerp. Anyway. So a virus gets in, and it decimates the system. And it just... And it starts making all the things act up, but only specific ones, and for reasons I'll get to in a second. But it's this guy's job to try and fix these satellites that are acting up in wacky ways and destroying places of the Earth, like they were supposed to help. And the world goes kaput. So the first city that's hit is that tiny little village in Afghanistan. And then Hong Kong gets hit with a heat wave that it makes all the gas pipelines explode, and the the city goes down because they can't handle the fire and the pressure of the gas. It's stupid. Like, that's not how that happens. There's like, it's literally just that. Fire engulfs everything, and then buildings start falling down like dominoes, and things fall down and collapse and kill people, and it's like, why? None of that would happen in real life. At least not to my knowledge. How? No. Just no. And then the third city that gets hit is Tokyo, Japan. And it has these absolutely gigantic hail balls that if you get hit in the head, it'll either knock you out or kill you. And then one is so big it actually crushes a bus. And it's like, again, that doesn't make sense because by that point, like, the snowball at like half the size would have been too heavy for the cloud to hold, and it would have fallen far quicker than that. So, whatever. But the whole story is based around this one guy, the Speaker of the House. Yeah, Speaker of the House. And he is trying to get rid of the president and vice president so he can become president of a destroyed world. Because what he's doing is he's actually destroying the enemies of the United States, which is stupid for a number of reasons. I'll get to after the synopsis, but it's really dumb. It's like the plot is stupid. And this one line from the guy who created the virus up in the space station that infected the whole thing, he says this. Well, first he's asked why he did it. And then the second line he says, well, take the crappy salary that normal scientists get paid and multiply that by 1,000. And then the guy says, and then the person who's created this whole thing says the most obvious thing that everyone at least subconsciously is thinking. What good is money if there's no world to spend it on? Or like nothing in this world to spend it on? And obviously that's a very good question. And he says, oh, don't worry. We'll keep all the good bits. What? Even the good bits, the paradise parts, they're going to die if you don't have places where you can feed them and yet trade for money so you can actually support the places. Like, you take out the Middle East, the Fertile Crescent even, in India, which does get hit by a bunch of tornadoes, you're not going to have food. And the entire eastern half of the United States gets obliterated, or is supposed to get obliterated, so you wouldn't have food from them either. And I live in Colorado, so I know there's a lot of corn. But you can't live off of corn and potatoes. Like, well, you can, but why would you? It's dumb. Like, whatever. So that's basically the whole story. The guy gets caught, and they don't ever say what happens to him, but I'm assuming he gets executed for treason and genocide and all that kind of stuff. And the guy who created the virus gets sucked out into the vacuum of space because he shoots out a window in the ISS and it breaks and he flies out for some reason. Like, well, the gun is directed into the windshield, and the guy who made it locks him into that room, and it just went boom. And the reason everyone's so freaked out on the International Space Station is because it's been scheduled to self-destruct for whatever. Like, I guess that makes sense because if they don't have it up there, they can't control what happens. But again, that's also stupid because it's the only control place and it's the only guy's way of getting into the satellites, which would only allow for certain places to stay protected but other places to not stay protected. Because it's not like these satellites won't just go down when the ISS goes down. And they don't, surprisingly enough. That's movie logic, because usually if a control center of some kind of device goes down, the devices themselves are going to go down. That's just how technology works. And then there's this whole bunch of thing that goes on the ground, like Max tries to get his girlfriend to steal state secrets just because he's his girlfriend, and he thinks it's going to help, therefore she thinks it's going to help. So it's kind of that thing like, you do what I say, please, because I'm me. A real Secret Service agent would not do that. And it's kind of stupid that they decided to go that way. See, look, this guy is not that guy. Oh, God, I can't. Okay, there. He's not that guy. Because it's like a real Secret Service agent would be like, okay, dude, you just said something that's a threat to the state, therefore I have to shoot you. That's what a Secret Service agent would do. So it's like, that's not how that works at all. And they eventually find out that it's the Secretary of State that's doing it and everything else. And that's all spoilers, of course. I'm sorry I didn't mention that sooner. But, yeah. It's a dumb premise. It's a good premise. The space stuff is pretty cool up until a certain point where it just gets dumb. Like I said, the ISS goes down, but the satellites themselves don't, because there's apparently some backup thing that we never see in the movie, which is again stupid, because you'd think that they'd have a thing there. Well, it says it transfers to NASA, but NASA doesn't have the stuff to control it. That's all part of the ISS. But whatever. It's movie logic. I'm not gonna crash it too hard for that. I guess it has to, it's definitely one of those movies where you just sit down and turn your brain off. You don't think about anything that's going on, and that's just kind of what this movie is going for. Or at least what it seems. It's not really meant for deep thought, except for maybe the fact that we should all start talking about climate change and the fact that it's real, and our goddamn president doesn't think it's real. Like, what the hell? But anyway, I digress. So, back to this movie. It's like I said, it's not terrible. The dialogue is cookie cutter, boring, and sometimes a bit stupid. The premise is decent, I guess. It makes sense, at least at least at the beginning. The space stuff is cool. The CGI is fine, but the plot is just dumb. It's really just stupid. Like, there's no real connection to anything that happens there. Like, there's this one time where they just mention a code, and it becomes halfway important into the movie, because the guy already suspects that there's a breach up in the upper levels, but then a guy decides to use a code that when they were kids they used. Whatever. The plot is dumb. There's no connection whatsoever. It just, obviously, a person from the space would not know what's happening to a person on the ground, and unless they're talking, which they eventually do, but they don't in the beginning of the movie, so it's not like they can figure out, which is, again, another dumb thing. But this movie got a 15% on Rotten Tomatoes. A 15%. And that's a little harsh, I think. I don't think it was that bad, specifically. I'm no, Rolling Stone or anything like that. But it's like, it's if you look at it for what it is, it's just a movie to make you think about what could happen. Even if it's the way they do it is worse than it is, worse than it should have been, you can give it a better score considering what it's supposed to be. Now, I wouldn't have given it a 15%. If you could get off the table, Cat, that'd be great. Please, just go. Thank you. But anyway, I wouldn't have given it a 15%. No, I think that's way too harsh. I think that I would have gotten a 35 or 40%. It's still not good enough to be considered fresh, But then again, it is, like I said, one of the movies that you're going to need to just turn your brain off and don't think about it. So, yeah. That's my review of, and mostly synopsis of, what happens in Geostorm. In short, if you are kind of interested in this kind of movies, like, it's a lot like San Andreas in a way, if you've ever seen that. It's, so if you enjoyed that movie, I'd say if you really want to, I'd say go see it. I wouldn't see it again personally. But if you don't like this kind of movie, don't waste your money. Just don't waste your money. It's not good enough to really see it. Like, if you're not interested in the kind of stuff. And I mean, if you like movies that'll just like make you turn your brain off and just kind of relax and not think, I mean, maybe. But I'd really only go if you like movies about natural disasters and stuff like that. So, all in all, 35 to 40% I think is probably good, or at least, so what, a 3.5 out of 4, 3.5 to 4 out of 10. So not super great, but it's, like I said, it depends on your tastes. So my final score is I will hit middle of the road at 3.75 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.